What's up, creeps? Welcome to a special bonus episode of the Epic Film Guys podcast. I'm Justin.
I'm BluBrry.
And we are once again joined by our good friend, Epic Film Guys legend, the one and only god of podcasting himself. Say your name. Say it loud. Say it proud.
Brian Loy.
There it is. What
Whoa,
the
whoa,
actual
whoa, whoa.
You think that's what they want to hear?
We weren't talking about your
All
government
right.
name. No.
All right,
God.
it is me, it is I, it is the LoySauce, and thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
That's better. Damn it. We are here to be reviewing Dune Part 2. And we never reviewed the first Dune Part 1 on the Epic Film Guys.
Oh my God, you're right.
No, we never did. What year? That year that it came out?
2021.
Yeah, no. Things had changed in the EFG lineup. Things weren't really going down that direction. But, we're here, and we all saw the movie, so we're going to review it. And I think it's a movie that is extremely special. I think there's a cinema renaissance of sorts happening right now. Last year we had Barbenheimer, we had Barbie, we had Oppenheimer. The box office was lit on fire by those movies, and people are going back to the movie theater in droves to see specific titles, and that's starting to happen again right now with Dune Part 2. LoySauce, you and I had an opportunity to see this movie many weeks ago.
That's right.
So we had to kind of sit on it a little bit. And there's also something extremely special about this movie connected to Epic Film Guys, which just required us to review it. Those that have been listening for a long time know that we've had our brand name associated with some movies in the past in terms of marketing materials and such. I had a pull quote in the movie trailer for The Northman, but insanely enough, Warner Brothers asked permission to use one of my quotes in the marketing for Dune Part 2, and it's been seen on television. If you have HBO Max, it's currently listed as one of the quotes regarding Austin Butler in the behind-the-scenes featurette. It's about 2 minutes long. It's a highlighted video they currently have on there to promote the movie, and it's just really fucking exciting. So I just,
Everything's coming up EFG.
It's an exciting moment for us, and Brady, even just you last week as well. On top of that, congrats to you. You got a quote from your review about RoboDoc, which is the brand new RoboCop documentary series, which is absolutely brilliant. You reviewed that many months ago, and you just got your quote on a poster.
Oh,
God damn
you gotta
it,
watch
you haven't
it.
watched it yet?
Carve out like 6 hours and just watch it. That's all you gotta do.
Well, hey, congratulations to both of you. I mean, that's a huge deal. So,
Well, hey,
Thanks.
man.
kudos.
Thank you, but honestly, thank you for your invite. I will not state how I saw Dune Part 2 as early as I did, but it was an invite from you. We saw it together, and I was able to get my feelings on the film up on social media within a day's time, and that's
It
what
felt like
really
the old
helped.
days.
Yeah, it did. And I know there's going to be plenty of those times coming soon here as well for some other movies we're going to be excited to talk about. But, guys, Dune Part 2 is in theaters right now. As of this moment of this recording, it's made about $179 million. The budget was $190 million. But so far, it has destroyed the opening weekend numbers of Dune Part 1. I remember seeing that one at Dolby Cinema opening weekend, and it, modest box office. There was plenty of people out there to see it. But as I recall, it didn't light the world on fire or anything like that.
Well, there are several reasons for that. I mean, I think it came out in 2021, so theaters were still reeling from COVID-19. People weren't really ready to return to the theaters yet. So, I mean, I think the release date and the fact that it had a simultaneous HBO Max day and date release.
That's right, it did have that, didn't it?
Because that's how I saw it.
So I think the fact that it made as much money as it did is a testament to, the fact that it's just a good movie. That's the thing. I mean, with Barbie, Oppenheimer, Godzilla -1, like, these are technically franchise films, but they're films made with a lot of care and they're good stories that people want to come see. And they've all become kind of cultural moments. I mean, this film is one of those movies that, like, hey, you haven't seen Dune Part 2 yet? Like, get on that so we can talk about it.
Listen, let's face it, Brian. The entire reason why people are talking about the fucking movie is the popcorn bucket. All right? That popcorn bucket, it went viral weeks before the movie came out. So fucking viral that when I went to go see the movie a second time in IMAX last week for our actual DC press screening, AMC was sold out of the popcorn buckets. I could not even buy one. You know how fucking mad I was at that? But that's how popular this movie is currently in terms of
I have to hand it to AMC. I mean, that's marketing tie-in gimmicks at their best.
It's fucked up. It's super phallic. People are doing really disgusting, grimy shit with those popcorn buckets. But hey, everyone's talking about them. So
it's not even particularly well designed because you put your hand in and you try to reach out popcorn and you can't.
Dude,
you're
getting
trapped you in there. Next thing you know, you're paying child support and
all greasy and all the butter and salt stuck on those little sandworm mouth bristles or whatever the fuck they are. It looks like baleen, like a
dude.
whale's
You're turning me
baleen.
on right now. You better stop.
Well, greasy, juicy holes or.
That's just natural lubrication right there.
Put some popcorn in it. But yes, so the movie itself, we all talked about it pre-show a little bit. We all saw the first movie. You both got to watch part one more recently than I have. I only saw it the one time in theaters. I did purchase the 4K Blu-ray to rewatch before I got to see this one, but I got sick. Did not happen. Unfortunately, time did not permit. But anyways, I don't think the movie requires you to see the first movie in order to appreciate it. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think you need to see part one to understand a lot of what's going on in part two.
To understand, but to enjoy.
I'm also going to go out real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. So I kind of compare this to The Godfather. So Godfather 1 and 2, right? I love the first Godfather because it takes so much time to build what you get in part 2 and then eventually in part 3. And I feel like that's the same. I think you do need part 1 to get the appreciation of what happens in the second one because, he goes... Denis, in his adapting this from Herbert's story, it's distilling information still because it's so massive, it's so sprawling, like Brian and I were talking about in pre-show, the book. And so he has to distill it judiciously, where he's still getting enough subject matter in there where it's faithful and appeasing everybody and still a coherent story. And so what he does in the first part is painstakingly tedious, but is very important to understand Paul Atreides, his journey, the struggle that he has in part 2. So that's what I'd have to say about that.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree. I'm just saying in terms of, any Joe Schmo wanting to go see this movie, I wouldn't tell them not to see it based on the fact that they haven't seen the first one. I would tell them, yeah, sure, if you want to understand everything, because that's one thing you're totally correct on. The first movie, it's an info dump. It's an exposition dump. Like, you're trying to understand this world. There's world building throughout. You're trying to understand these characters. They have funny names. It's an entire culture within a culture, and there's different cultures within one planet, and you're trying to, grasp all of this. And I think that's where talking about adapting something so dense it can be problematic in terms of the original film adaptation from the 80s that the legendary David Lynch attempted, in which, at this point he won't even talk about it if you bring it up. Now, Brian, you were saying a little bit pre-show, this is an example of properly adapting material.
Yeah, it's the wisdom of knowing we cannot tell this elephantine story in 2 hours. I'm sure, as we discussed, it's probably not David Lynch's fault. He probably got pressure from the studio. You have to get it to 2 hours, 15 minutes, or audiences won't pay attention for that long. And so he had to cut it down to what it is, and it makes the story feel extremely rushed. I think Dune is such a beloved source material. I think it's such a rich source material that Villeneuve, in his wisdom, decided to split the movie into two parts, or split the book into two parts, rather, in his adaptation. And part one is front-loaded with a lot of information that it kind of pelts you with. And it does feel like half of a story. Part one just kind of stops, and you're like, oh, I guess we'll see you in a few years for the next
I'll never forget that moment at the end where I had never experienced a movie stop that abruptly, probably ever.
Oh, I have. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug.
Okay, well, I can't speak
Mid-action
on that
scene.
because I
Yeah.
never you've mentioned that to me in the past, but I've never seen the Hobbit movies, so would not know that.
Yeah, but I do think that you could probably go to Dune Part 2 and enjoy it purely on a blockbuster spectacle level. You won't know what the hell's going on, but you could fill in the blanks yourself. Read between the lines.
For a sci-fi action movie, a Joe Schmo could just go off the street and still have a good time.
Exactly.
It will make you want to go back and watch part
Yes.
one, certainly.
That it made me want to do that, and it made me want to see part two again, because there were definitely things on my second watch that I picked up on that I didn't totally connect with on the first watch. This is one of those rare occasions where I'm like, man, I would totally be cool if they had subtitles up on the screen in the movie theater. I know that's not a thing, but like just the dialogue is so important in these movies because it's explaining what you're trying to see here, and not just the visual nature. Because let's be very clear, the first film was a visual spectacle, stunning movie, but here they take it even further. I mean, this thing, it's just like, Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. I could watch it with no sound every fucking day on loop and never get bored because it is such an amazing visual. Just to withstand, it just brings you into a different world entirely, and just it's insane.
Well,
it's insane how beautiful this movie is.
Very few filmmakers are doing it like Villeneuve is right now. I mean, it just is a massive thing. It's like jaw-dropping, production design and visual effects that don't feel like visual effects. I mean, there was never one moment in the entire runtime where I thought that looks fake. That is CGI. Like it is so. The world feels so lived in. So yeah, I think Dune Part 2 rules. By the way, I know we're not in initial thoughts yet, but I may as well break the ice.
Well, yeah. I was waiting a little bit of time. I need to throw it to Brady because those that are confused, if they are listening to the show before watching the movie, I will tell you, please put it on pause, stop it, go watch the movie, come back after you've seen it. Don't spoil it for yourself because we are going to be doing full spoilers. But if you have seen it, it doesn't matter anyway. That's what we do on the Epic Film Guys. Let our listeners know, Brady, what Dune Part 2 is all about.
Yeah, so Dune Part 2 kicks off pretty much immediately after the events of Dune Part 1, and Paul Atreides is united with Chani and the rest of the Fremen while on a warpath of revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the known universe, he endeavors to prevent a terrible future only he can foresee.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. There's big sand fucking worms in this thing. There's Dave
Big sand
Bautista
fucking worms.
yelling really loudly and smashing dudes' heads against walls, and then there's Austin Butler sticking his tongue out with really sharp knives. And ooh,
I know I've complained about it a lot,
Rough.
but I was really fucking hoping that he would talk like Elvis, at least at one part.
you
in
were
this
the
fucking
one
film.
complaining. You were the
I
one
just said that, but I
complaining.
wish that he had come out there and be like, "Hey, mama," it would have been so great.
I loved his voice in this, but no, I'm going to throw it. You're talking, You're the youngest on the show. So,
Me?
Brady,
Yeah.
your initial thoughts on Dune Part 2.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's literally an incredible experience watching that. Just you're fully immersed in this world, and like I said earlier, I loved the world building and the character building that he did in Part 1, and I think that just flows seamlessly into this one. The visuals are incredible, and the actors who are portraying these characters are just so spot on in their looks and their dialogue and their mannerisms and how they do it. It's just incredible. And for an almost 3 hour long movie, I never once was checking the time. I was never once bored. There was always something carrying you along. And, you have this plot of Paul and his journey and what that looks like, but they're also, intercutting that with all these other storylines going on to make that or break it. I think it's incredible. In a nutshell, there are some issues that I did find with it, that we'll get into more details later. This one kind of also did leave me feeling the theater, like the first one did. I felt like there really wasn't any resolution. I felt like part 2 should have had this grand resolution, right, of Paul's journey, and it may not have ended as abruptly, but I still left kind of like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, like looking around like what's going on here. But outside of that, incredible film. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it.
Saucy, the floor is yours, my friend.
Oh goodness. I'm in complete agreement with a lot of the things that Brady just said. I mean, I'm trying to find things to criticize, and I'm coming up short. I mean, it's really just a solid, well-rounded movie in just about every aspect. I am curious how people will read the movie, because it's a bummer. It's not a happy story. It's not a triumphant story. It's exactly what it should be, which is what the book was, which is an indictment of colonialism and organized religion. And I wonder if some people watch the movie and view Paul's story as one of, and view him as a heroic figure, rather than, this person who commits genocide, basically.
Genocidal maniac, technically, yes.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So I think Villeneuve, it is a tremendous balancing act to try to make a satisfying, like I said, blockbuster spectacle while also dealing with these very weighty themes. I mean, it is a biblical story for all intents and purposes. And try to bring the complexity into it. That's the thing, again, that I think other adaptations might have struggled with too, is the framing of everything. I think one of the things that Villeneuve does to really help bring that to the forefront is Zendaya's character, Chani, more of the focus on her and how she's viewing everything. She's kind of the audience surrogate, or at least she should be. And I thought that was a really smart choice. Again, it kind of reminds me of what Peter Jackson did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, making this sprawling epic based on this massive tome. The Lord of the Rings, so beloved. How do you even begin to adapt that? It's such a challenge, but it's a challenge that Jackson and in turn Villeneuve were more than up to the task for. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of gobsmacked by the scale of these movies. Like I said, they just feel massive in a way that doesn't take away from the real thematic meat of the story and the quieter, more dramatic character moments, rather than just focusing on spectacle.
Yeah.
Very well said.
I appreciate you bringing up, how you look at Paul depends on, how you read history and how you read all these other tales. Like, is he, a benevolent leader to the Fremen? Is he committing genocide? I think it's also important to look like it's, a tale essentially of that white savior complex too.
It's a complete deconstruction of that.
Yeah,
well,
for
it's
sure.
also, in terms of that, a cautionary tale rather than just like a straight up white savior situation. You know what I mean?
I've already seen takes of people say I'm glad Dune Part 2 wasn't woke, and I'm like, Dune is the most. I mean, in the way that they would define woke, Dune is like the wokest thing that you could possibly read or see. So I find that very interesting. I'm wondering if it's just whizzing over people's heads. But that's the thing, though. I mean, again, the story is still satisfying either way, because it does focus on, again, these characters who are so compelling. I love Paul's journey because he starts off in part one. He's
Spoiled.
well, certainly. So he comes from a line of dukes. He's basically
It's almost
a
like
product
that
of,
line that Chani says in the movie in part two. She's like, "You come from a line of dukes and big houses, and I come from the sand and the desert."
Well, he's a product of eugenics, for one thing. I mean, he is bred to be the ideal messiah for all intents and purposes, and he's basically had all of this pressure hoisted upon him by everyone around him, saying, "You are going to lead us to paradise. You are meant for great things." And so he has all of this pressure, but he's a humble guy to start out with. Early on in the film, when he joins alliances with the Fremen, he's humble. He wants to genuinely learn about their culture. He wants to be one of them. And I mean, we are going into spoilers, but the film takes a dark turn where when he gets the knowledge of like past, present, and future, he can see that the only way, or at least in his mind, or at least what he tells people, is, I need to lead you as a leader as opposed to being one of you, So that journey is just so compelling. Again, it's very, I'm always fascinated by the story of Jesus Christ. And there's a lot of parallels for sure. That's not by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. And I've already kind of mentioned to our audience on social media what my initial thoughts were on this. And to make it as simple as possible, the one thing that I said is when you hear the words Dune 2 in the same sentence as the word masterpiece, it's not hyperbole at all whatsoever. This is the real deal. This thing is tremendous. This thing is massive. This thing will blow you fucking away. And that's what my reaction was, because when we saw it, Brian, like I've gone out on record and saying that I like part one. I liked it just fine. When I left the theater, I didn't have the same reaction as I did to Blade Runner 2049 or Arrival or some of Villeneuve's other movies. But this movie, I had such low expectation, and when we saw it, it literally just, like I said, it took me, pulled me in, and didn't let me go until the end of the movie. And by the end of it, I remember turning to you going, I wasn't prepared for it to be that amazing. Like, it's a fucking masterpiece. And it literally is in every sense of what that word means. It's Villeneuve's masterpiece. It is his Empire Strikes Back. It is his Godfather Part 2. It's up there with Terminator 2. All those second films in a trilogy. We know he's going to do a third one. He's saying he doesn't want to rush. We know it's coming. It's inevitable at this point. Warner Brothers is going to want it. I don't know the book. So, Brady, maybe you can fill me in as to how much more of the story is actually left after this.
Well, I don't know exactly because I never finished the book all the way. But it also branches off into I think like 6 or 7 other books based on the
So
original.
Okay, I knew there was more than one, but I didn't know if they were just
ton he could
adapting
do.
just the one. I didn't know for sure.
There's 6 books, and Dune parts 1 and 2 are essentially the first book.
Okay, that's what
and
I
then
thought.
The inevitable part 3 will be his adaptation of Dune Messiah, which is the second, the follow-up book.
Yeah.
And that kind of completes the trilogy. I hear that the books, from there get much weirder. Paul becomes a sandworm at some point, and it just gets really nutty. And then I think also from there were at a certain point, Brian Herbert, Frank Herbert's son, started writing the books and carrying on his father's legacy. And so there's a lot of Dune content out there.
So this is a Star Wars
that they can
situation.
easily.
This is like something where they could potentially just grab whatever material they want, adapt it, do their own fresh interpretation. Okay, very fair.
There's tons of material that they can pull from if they want to.
I hope it is. But the other thing that I wanted to mention in my initial thoughts is, and I said this pre-show a little bit, but yes, we are in a cinema renaissance, but we're also in a point here where these are our new movie stars, and this is an ongoing conversation in the cinephile community, if you will, film Twitter, all those communities where people are like, we don't have movie stars anymore. And in this movie, you have Timothée Chalamet, who is one of the most biggest box office draws right now. We have Zendaya. We have Austin Butler, who is very clearly making his mark in movies right now. And you have Florence Pugh. Those are 4 names right now. And just looking at those cast photos they're doing with them all dressed up and shit, all suave and sexy, that is the future of Hollywood for us. These are the young up-and-comers, because soon we won't have the De Niros and the Pacinos. The DiCaprios are getting older. These generations are growing old. This is what we have. And for me, that's exciting because I think every single one of them brought something extremely special to this movie. Along with, we have some pioneers here like Christopher Walken. I don't know how you guys felt about him in the movie.
What was he doing there?
I loved seeing him in the movie. I wasn't necessarily sure he knew what he was supposed to be doing or what
I like
movie
to think
he was in.
One day he just walked in. He was in the studio. He walked in and he sat down in the throne and he's like, I just need some place to sit. And they're like, just shoot it. And he's like, yeah, I know, there were some green screens all around me. I don't know what's going on. I'm an emperor.
I know a lot of people said that he felt out of place in the film, but I didn't necessarily have a problem with him. His screen time isn't so much that he becomes like a distraction to what's happening, because he's really not in the movie very much. I mean, he and Florence Pugh, they're in the movie intermittently, and then I think both of them have bigger roles in Dune Part 3. I could be wrong, or at least Florence Pugh
I would
does,
have to assume they do.
God, I wish Florence Pugh was in this movie a lot more. I love watching her in anything.
She's fantastic.
She's a great actress. Yeah.
It's very smart casting. He really laid the groundwork for what was to come. And Timothée Chalamet, I'm not a huge fan of Timothée Chalamet. I think he actually, he does good work. But I wasn't sold on him as Paul Atreides in Part 1. I thought he was okay.
But here...
I was wondering why he was cast. But in Part 2, he really rises to the occasion, and it is actually intimidating in a way that I did not foresee.
I never expected that I would be intimidated by him based on his physical prowess, his physicality, if you will. And in this movie, there are moments where he is tender, and then he switches to terrifying within seconds. It's insane. This is really his spot to shine. He gives a mighty performance in this movie. But y'all know my favorite part of this movie in terms of performance, and that's Austin fucking Butler as Feyd-Rautha. He literally just transforms himself, and there's nothing better than an iconic and amazing villain performance, and that's what we have here. No, I'm not necessarily sure. I don't think he's getting nominated for a fucking Oscar for this. There's this huge circle of people he's gonna get. No, I don't.
The year just started.
And I'm just seriously, slow down. But yes, I do believe he will go down in history as one of the most memorable villains because he is like the shark in Jaws. You don't see him a lot, but his presence is felt throughout once you witness and experience him for the first time. It's just you're waiting for him to show up again, and I think it's just how they build him up. A drastic difference compared to how Sting played the character in Lynch's movie, and that's no slight or anything.
I did hear that Sting
they put him
offered...
in these really weird. He offered him his underwear.
Yeah.
They're both ripped to shreds in their interpretation, but Butler is just, again, he just sunk his teeth into this, and he's typically a method actor. He said for the sake of his friends and family, he didn't want to do that with this movie because I'm like, well, yeah, you wouldn't want to wake up, slitting your fucking girlfriend's throat, would you? Because that's some of the stuff we see him doing in this movie. It's just outright just brutally murdering people. A fierce fighter, a force to be reckoned with, if you will, and just literally like what you would want out of a good movie villain. I think that's what the first movie lacked for me, is something memorable in that category, because y'all know I love my villains. Like, that's my favorite part. And a good villain's only going to make your hero, or if you want to call him a polyhero or not, but in the sense of just traditional action spectacle, it's bad guy versus good guy, no matter how you look at it.
I also think, you know, he did such a good job of establishing his presence as the villain as soon as he's introduced, that even when he's not on the screen, you're still thinking of him.
Exactly.
And like everything that's happening, you're like, okay, well, what happens when Fade gets there? Like, what is Fade going to do until he gets there? And I kind of likened it to, in The Force Awakens, what Kylo Ren was supposed to be, you know, where he was supposed to be this very domineering, sinister force that in the moments that he's sliced into the screen, you're still thinking about him. Obviously, I don't think that panned out as they wanted it to, but here it does, and Austin Butler's performance is why.
No Kylo Ren hate on this show. I swear to God, I'll boot you right now. I love me some Kylo Ren. He's one of my favorite Star Wars characters and one of my favorite villains, too. I also think huge difference in how they're written here. I mean, we don't even know Fade's age in this movie. I know he's supposed to be younger, I guess, but like,
hey, calm down. I'm not saying anything awful about Kylo Ren. I was just making a comparison.
No.
It's all right.
Saying, like,
it's all right.
Very true, though. I mean, he's legit scary in this movie, and that's what they needed, and he nailed it.
To Brady's point, I mean, when I'm watching The Force Awakens, for example, I'm like, when's the next time Kylo Ren's going to show up on screen? I want to see Kylo Ren. And that's exactly how I felt about Austin Butler. I mean, again, it's a tough character because you have to be physically imposing. You have to have sex appeal. You have to be a little gross and a little insane. And Austin Butler is all of those things in this role. I mean, it's clear he viewed the character as like his playground. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
You can tell he's really relishing every little, you know, facial tick that he does, every little, like he tilts his head a lot to kind of like intimidate
Even when he eats the apple,
people.
You know, he's eating an apple in the one scene. It's just the way he does it with such, you know, bravado. It's...
And then, the whole scene with him and Leia Seydoux, I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that there would be like a scene that I would find sexy in an adaptation of Dune, but you know, that scene comes pretty close, even though you don't actually see any, you know, sex happening. There's tension between them. The way she kind of goads him into following her into her chambers, and then like when she tells him to kneel, I'm like, oh man. Like,
and then we know the aftermath from that too.
She's like, yeah, he knocked me up.
But
I also, Brian, you're right, because I felt super uncomfortable there, and it's kind of like the first time that I was really attracted to somebody sexually, and you can't understand why, but like for me it was Kirsten Dunst in Spider-Man, but it was like
choice.
Yeah, you're just uncomfortable, and you're like, man, I can't explain this.
She was in the rain, wasn't it? It was when she was in the rain.
Of course it was, and
it had to be.
But for this one, I'm like, man, I am physically repulsed by Austin Butler in this movie, but there's something about this scene that's making me uncomfortable and shifting my seat.
He's supposed to be repulsive because he's a Harkonnen, but who among us would not go for Austin Butler as Fade Ralph?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Am I alone on an island here?
No,
I don't think so.
Not at all.
But the thing is too, like, he on a dime can like snap and explode into violence. I mean, he just kills random people around him just because. And then he also has like a harem of cannibal women who like sharpen fashion their teeth into fangs, and it's like, geez, like this is kind of scary.
You know, this guy's
amazing.
Freak.
Yeah, it's amazing too how the Harkonnen homeworld is portrayed visually, because their sun can only like reflect black and white. So there is I guess there's a reason in the lore for those sequences to be in black and white, which is very stark and very dramatic and gorgeous to look at, obviously. And even the fireworks, the celebratory fireworks that go off for his birthday, are black and white.
And grayish complexity.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought it was really interesting. I saw some people, there was one critic, I'm not going to name them, that tried to liken the black and white sequences to a Zack Snyder movie. And my response to that was, you're missing the entire point of what the context of the scene is, and also the fact that it's related to the fucking way where they live, and that it's a technical thing.
Also, is that a criticism? Because a lot of Zack Snyder's movies look
visually,
pretty good.
yeah, 100%. I mean, he's slow-mo. There was some slow-mo in this, let's be clear. But the action in this was fantastic. It's again, Villeneuve's, no, he can do action. We've seen him do action really well, and I think here he showcased it to the highest degree.
Well, yeah, it's
there
also
is some great.
It's a war movie too. Like, it's not just this journey. Like, it's a war, and it's crazy the things that they can do. I didn't mean to interrupt you guys, but
oh no, feel free. Yeah, I was just gonna say that it literally is the Lawrence of Arabia for Villeneuve in terms of the scale, the scope, the look to the thing, and in terms of the cast, I just wanted to keep running down what we have. Zendaya here, who gives such a subtle performance throughout, and I was wondering on my first watch of this thing, I was like, is she gonna just scowl through the entire fucking movie? And then about 25 minutes in, she smiles, and I was like, there it is.
She comes out of her shell a little bit, because at first she's very skeptical of Paul. But the relationship that they formed, even though I felt it was a tad rushed, I don't think that's necessarily the fault of the movie, because the pacing never bothered me, ever. I mean, I felt it was perfectly smooth all the way through. There was never anything that felt too long or could have been removed, or I feel like everything was in its rightful place. But that relationship did develop a tad quick for me. To Justin's point about, I just want to make the point real quick. Justin's point about the action in this movie. I think the movie delivers on action, but I also think Villeneuve makes very intentional choices in what he wants the audience to get excited about. Because there are a couple moments where I think, you're meant to get like amped up, or like it's like a cheer moment that then Villeneuve like yanks away from you. The scene between Dave Bautista's character and Josh Brolin's, you think that's going to be an epic showdown.
Him and Gurney, and it lasts all of 2 fucking seconds.
He literally knocks the knife out of his hand and stabs him, and that's it. Or not the knife, the mace or whatever he has. Yeah. But I think that's entirely intentional. I don't think Villeneuve wants you to be excited by an epic action scene. I think he wants you to be horrified at what's happening. Because again, the whole movie has like an element of darkness where it's kind of like Starship Troopers, where it's like, I should not be enjoying the action in this movie. Even though it does kind of riff on the thrills that you would expect in a science fiction piece like this. I really do think Villeneuve wants to convey that these characters are on a dangerous path. And the scene at the end where they're all taking to the stars and they're going to conquer more worlds, I'm like, that's gonna go really badly.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. The end scene where the Emperor is held prisoner, and then right before the duel between Paul and Fade, like, even what's left of House Atreides and the Fremen, like, there's no uplifting, positive vibe or tone with them. Like, it's almost like now they're the bad guys. Not that they are, but like, they have this very solemn gloom about them, where it's like, okay, well, like, we've reached out to their houses and we've told them that either they see Paul as Emperor, or we're gonna nuke all the spice. And it's like, okay, so now you've just switched places. And I think that goes with what you were saying. Like, he's trying to show through his film, like, war is terrible, whatever side you're on. And then the victor is always going to have these issues come up too, where it's like, okay, well, did I really just free a country, or did I plunge us into genocide and even more war? Like, what's going on?
The thing that I love about the movie that really holds that theme together is Javier Bardem's character, Stilgar. First of all, very funny performance by Javier Bardem. There aren't many laughs to be had in this film, but all of them.
They're all from him, yes.
Absolutely. But he's so devout in his belief that Paul is the one who will save them, that he again, like, it doesn't matter whether Paul is the one or not. He believes it so strongly that to him there's no other option. And I don't know, that's just so fascinating because, I mean, really all of this boils down to the Bene Gesserit who planned for Paul to exist and exploited people's, belief in this prophecy that may or may not be true. But they exploited it to make him the ruler of all of these people. And it's like, it's, again, not a happy story. But I think what Stilgar represents is just, again, that kind of devout belief in something and just like finding a way for it to be true, even if it may not necessarily be true, which you could draw parallels to religion, religious fanaticism, whatever you want to say. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I love Stilgar in this, and like you said, he's funny, but he does show that devout side of belief, and I love that that's contrasted with Chani's disbelief throughout most of the movie, where they're representing the two polar opposite ends of the Fremen, which also then I have to speak about Rebecca Ferguson as Jessica.
Oh God,
dude, damn, she was so fucking good in this movie. I loved her in part one,
brilliant performance.
But she's menacing in this one, and she's so sinister. And I was leaving the theater, and I was like, okay, well, obviously, I loved her performance because I hated her most of the movie. Like anytime she came on, I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that line that she delivers, where she's like, "We have to convert all the non-believers and make them believe." It's like,
listen. It needs to be mentioned that. Yes, I know you both like the movie, and it is a forgotten performance by the mainstream, but that's Rose the Hat right there, and she knows how to do a fucking villain. She knows how to do sinister. She knows how to do scary. I loved her in this movie.
I included Rose the Hat in my top 5 women of horror when we did.
I know, I remember.
2Ps. No, what a standout in that movie. But then here, I mean, she's playing a completely different character, but it nonetheless, I mean, she commands the screen for sure. And
she also commanded the red carpet at the premiere. Let's be fucking very clear there. That black dress and shit, super villainesque, but absolute stunner.
For sure. And I wonder how people interpret, or I'm interested in how you all interpreted the water of life that they drink in the movie. Because again, there's a very hard shift in both of their characters. Yeah, the worm piss. That's like bright electric blue. It looks like Kool-Aid or something. But yeah, I'm
how
interested
I interpreted
in what...
it is I looked tasty and I wanted to fucking drink it. I was hoping it would get me wasted. That's what it looked like to me.
Fair enough.
Probably would. I don't really know.
Maybe the Hopester would come out if I drank it, and then I'd
God.
become the Hopester permanent. Yeah, this is going old school for the old school.
What was your take on it, Brian?
I'm not really sure either. I'm trying to work that out. That's why I asked. But but clearly they have some sort of like life altering trip where they see multiple futures, because like Paul has visions of a future that could happen where he sees billions of people dead because of him, and he's scared to go south to join everyone else because he has a vision that will lead to disaster occurring because of him. And he harbors that guilt, and he says, I'm not leading these people to danger. And then he drinks the water of life, and he has a hard, 180, and says, "No, this is what I need to do in order for." So I guess it's some kind of
in his character. There's an instant switch in Chalamet's performance there as well. It flips from there on. Yeah. He is just a totally different person.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to lead to something.
Oh, God, that's what happens.
Oh, you mentioned sandworm piss.
Yes, sandworm piss.
So we need to talk about the sandworms, and especially the scene where
Oh,
Paul
dude,
learns to ride
That's
one.
legit, like, probably my favorite.
How does he get off? How do you get off the worm?
Brian already knows the answer to this.
Oh, really?
He
I need
knows
to
the
know.
answer to this. Yeah.
Oh man, I posted it earlier because people were asking.
People
on the
keep
Film Club
asking. I'm
page.
like, dude, there's an explanation. Villeneuve's not the type of director to be like, no one's gonna think about that. I'm not gonna have to answer that question.
Well, he says we'll see it in the next
Yeah.
one. Like, I think for me, I'm not necessarily thinking about that while watching the movie. I just assume they get off somehow.
It's like a,
you know
it's
what
like
I
a
mean?
subway
Like,
stop. It's like, all right.
Yeah,
you're at the
they
blue line.
reach their destination and they hop off and the worm keeps going somewhere.
You're in
It
Copley
is
Square.
something.
Yeah.
It is something that is, left off screen because, one of the most exciting moments in the entire movie is when they're testing Paul, and they're trying to test his limits and see if he is this so-called person of this prophecy. And he calls this grandfather sandworm, which is much larger than they're used to seeing, and he harnesses it and he rides it. And I think that sequence is just, you wouldn't think that a scene in a movie of Timothée Chalamet riding a giant fucking sand dick would get you that excited, but you do. It's just absolutely enthralling to view, and the way that it's built up. And I knew we were going to bring it up eventually, but Hans fucking Zimmer, god damn it, how thankful we are. We are a society that should be forever grateful for his existence and the music that he creates, because he knocked that score out of the fucking park once again. His music for the first movie was great. His music for this movie is great as well. Like, when he is riding that sandworm, it is just pure fucking cinema, man. I just loved it.
It's the kind of score that's so bombastic you like feel it rumble in your butt as you're watching the movie. But he also has this beautiful love theme for Paul and Chani that is a motif throughout the film. It's also memorable and beautiful. But yeah, that sandworm scene, I imagine the visual effects artists having to animate all of that. All of the sand shifting and crashing and cascading
and
around.
Like you said earlier on, not one of those moments felt fake to me. It looked, because you knew they were on location when they were, but when they weren't, it still looked fucking real.
Yeah.
And not one single moment was I taken out of the movie. It just felt like I was there on top of that sandworm, harnessing that shit, riding it through the desert.
Lifting those flaps.
Yeah, lift those flaps right up. Open up that orifice and let it get
Christ.
wet and juicy, and there it goes.
Open up that orifice.
Much later in the movie.
Hashtag
Open up that orifice.
Let's get it trending.
When later in the movie we see in the end battle, we see them harnessing I think 4 or 5 sandworms. So it is a question. It is a valid question for people to ask, yo, y'all rode those fucking sandworms in to battle, full fucking thrust. How'd you get off? How'd you jump off,
Not important.
No, again,
Next question.
Again,
I like to
we'll
think
see
that maybe
how,
they rode the worm until they got to like a dune that was level with where the worm was going, and then they just kind of roll off onto the top.
Yeah.
you could technically.
Although
roll
I have
off,
to
yeah.
imagine. I have to imagine though, if the sandworm's that massive and it's going that fast, that'd be like jumping off of a train. I don't know. So I forget the lore of how they actually do it, but I'm sure we'll see it in the next movie that I guarantee we'll be getting, because it seems like this is a bona fide
What else we're gonna probably
success.
see is this rivalry between Chani and the princess, spurned lover.
Well, there has to be some kind of tension
Dude,
there.
the look she gives her at the end, again, if anything, Zendaya will go down in history as the actress that can give the most scorned lover look ever. Mm-hmm. Dude, the look she gives Paul throughout the whole movie anyways, it's like she's already annoyed by him. But we have to talk about the romance. Even though the romance is there, it's not sexy. in any way, which I also think is intentional. You know, we know they're clearly making love. They're sleeping together. They're spending all of their moments together on this journey. And I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Would that have helped make it feel even more like a classic Hollywood epic, just having it be a little more sexy? Or do you believe that the way that it was kept in that way helps the movie?
So I know Chani was given a much larger role in this adaptation than the original and even in the book.
Yeah, Sean Young fucking does nothing in the original movie.
Right, but I don't think it needed to be sexier. I will say one thing that I did have an issue with was the timelines, I guess, and not even that, but just the length of time that all this would have taken. I don't think that was properly conveyed unless you've read the book or you have an understanding of it, because it feels like often it's just a couple days they're out in the desert, or it's just a couple days until, you know, they send the letter to the emperor and he arrives on Arrakis, and that's not the case. It's months and months and months.
Right.
And so I think when you look at it through that light, the way that their romance blossoms and unfolds, I think it works well with this, and I don't think you needed them to be sexier. I think they're both brooding characters. I think they are fine with their puppy dog eyes to each other, and also their distant looks, their mopey looks to each other. I think that all went together really, really well, and you still felt for Chani in that scene at the end. I was kind of like, all right, just get over it. Like, you kind of knew this was happening. Also, it's Florence Pugh. Like, come on, what choice did he have? But I also think that he's kind of a dick, dude. Like, if you think about it in like modern breakup terms, right? He goes over to her. Ed goes, "Hey, I know you're worried. I can tell on your face right now. But I already told you. I'll love you until I can't breathe anymore." And then he goes over and he's like, "Yeah, I'll take your daughter's hand." It's like, you didn't have to say that to her.
It doesn't mean that he doesn't still feel that way about her, though.
He's like, "I will love you till I am not breathing anymore, but I'm going to go breathe really hard with this girl."
Dude, that doesn't mean that, like, once he marries the princess and shit, like, he still can't have an affair or whatever. Just saying.
Well, apparently in the source material, Chani becomes like chief of his concubines or whatever. He has many lovers because he's the emperor, but Chani is like his main.
Okay, so there we go. All right, there it is.
But I don't know I don't know how where they'll take it, because it seems like, I mean, Chani's the last thing we see in Dune Part 2.
That's true.
Before credits.
That's true, yeah.
And she looks pissed. So I don't know exactly
scorned
what they're...
lover, like I said earlier. She'll probably get over
That's
it.
also the equivalent. She's like, "I'm going to go ride a sandworm." That's like, "I'm going to go for a drive. I'm going to go for a walk."
Exactly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, brilliant performance by Zendaya in this too. I mean, I love the chemistry they have together. And I have to say, this needs to be discussed. I don't know if you guys paid attention to this, but god fucking damn it. Stop having TikTokers do interviews to movie stars, during, press tours about movies. Because they ask
I would like to request that...
Go ahead.
I would like to request that TikTokers also do not spoil the entire movie on Variety the day the film is released. What was that?
Oh, I saw you comment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I agree with Billie Eilish. There was the People's Choice Awards or whatever it may be a few weeks ago. She complained about it. I get that they're relevant in terms of social media and such, but I keep seeing this surge of TikTokers being utilized as journalists, and they're asking the dumbest fucking questions. When you have Zendaya and Timothy,
they have no media training.
Timothy Chalamet in a room, and they're asking like, "Oh, hey, what's it like to make out on screen? What's it like?" It's like they're.
It's our job.
Jesus fucking Christ, they're actors in a fucking movie. Have you ever watched the fucking movie before? Do you know what acting is? It's just extremely frustrating. It's just one of those moments where I'm like, yes, we are now witnessing this surge of legendary films being released in theaters. That we have absolute talentless morons interviewing them because they have...
Well, they may be talented at something, but they're not talented
maybe
at...
challenges? I don't know. Again, we're on TikTok. I don't do anything with it because I think it's absolutely useless. I really think, again, whatever.
But before we get towards the end, there's one more character I want to talk about. What did you two think of the surprise Anya Taylor-Joy cameo?
I knew about it before the movie came out when me and Brian saw it for the first time.
Oh.
No. Letterboxd.
Justin has inside information.
Well, there was apparently it got spoiled because somebody like credited it on Letterboxd and put her in the credits as an early review.
No,
Gotcha.
we saw it before.
Was it Justin?
Like the day, I think, before anyone saw it press, or the same day or whatever, rather. But no, I knew about it beforehand. So when she showed up, Brian seemed surprised, and I turned to him and said, I already knew about that.
I had no idea.
She should be added to that list of iconic, up-and-coming Hollywood royalty, but at the same time, she's in one fucking scene. And, of course, you know...
Has one line.
Love Anya. Cannot wait for Furiosa. I am so excited for Furiosa. It looks absolutely breathtaking, balls-to-the-wall action. But I knew about her in the movie, and I was just like, cool. Awesome. Like, Villeneuve is just grabbing everyone good right now that people want to pay attention to. And I think that has a lot to do with why so many people are going out to see this thing. You know, I don't know what that's going to lead to. Again, I don't know anything about the future books or anything like that. If you guys know or not, but like...
Well, so in the original Dune novel, the character that Anya Taylor-Joy's portraying, Paul's sister... actually is birthed, you know, within the timeline of the events that take place in Dune Part 2. So she's like, you know, she's a kid or she's a young teenager, and she is actually the one who kills the Baron. They changed that from the book. It's actually his sister that kills the Baron. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. But in this
you're
film...
gonna have Dune purists coming after you?
Oh, here we go.
Shit.
Yeah, I confess I haven't read the book. Like I said, I tried reading it many years ago. It is so dense.
Next EFG comment we're going to get on Apple Music is going to be like, don't fucking quote the book unless you read it, LoySauce.
I know. I should just hang up my card.
Hand
in my badge. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Hang up your mic and your headphones and...
Go sing
I think
sing
what I was
some
trying to say,
Lamentations.
when Justin was talking about, like, Villeneuve, like... collecting actors, I was gonna say like Pokemon cards. He's just like, you know, any actor that
gotta catch them all.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when the cast was being announced for the original Dune, it was like one after the other, like Oscar Isaac, like Jason Momoa, like it was just nonstop.
And we can't forget that we still have Stellan Skarsgård in this movie. Josh Brolin is back. You know, the screen time he gets for Gurney is a lot smaller, but it's well felt.
Should have had a pug.
You know, should have, yes. Batista's in this again, and just going to prove that he is still the best wrestler turned actor out there doing his job in Hollywood.
For sure.
Amazing cast all around. And as we finish up and get to final thoughts and such, I think what needs to be discussed is one of the most powerful, exciting moments of the entire movie, which is at the end, which is the battle between Feyd-Rautha and Paul Atreides. Now, not Paul really anymore, but Muad'Dib. Muad'Dib, which is the desert mouse, an honorable creature who knows how to make his own water. I loved that moment. And also, like we talked about earlier, it's such a dark movie. And those moments where it gets a little bit lighter, you kind of need. And we know it's a CG desert mouse or whatever, but when it popped up, I smiled and turned to Danielle, my wife, and we smiled at each other. And it's just one of those moments you kind of need that, you know, like, oh, it's a cute little desert mouse hopping around or whatever. But this sequence, brilliantly shot, brilliantly choreographed. You could tell that it's pretty much 99.9% of the time Chalamet and Butler doing all of this action work themselves. And I think that's obviously intentional. This is one of those spectacle moments where if you don't believe in what you're seeing, you'll be taken out of the movie immediately. And I think they probably worked night and day to get this thing right. The battle itself is all but less than a few minutes long, but the impact of it is felt way longer than that until way after you leave the theater. What did you guys think of that?
I mean, never underestimate the power of a good up close and personal knife fight. Like the instant tension, I think, especially if you're invested in what's happening, which I was. And yeah, it is over a little bit quick. Again, I think Villeneuve wanted to scale it back. I think he didn't want the audience to get too amped up and pumping their fists, because it is a brutal business what they're doing. Because Paul's stabbed, they're basically like trying to catch their breath, they're sweaty, it feels real. It doesn't feel like a hyper stylized.
And when you think about it, not to cut you off, but Fade Rotha has the advantage here. He's been standing around doing nothing. Think about what Paul's been doing. He's been charging this in fighting this whole time. Then he gets there, he's exhausted, he's dirty, and now he has to fucking fight again. He's got to fight their choice of a warrior who is this lethal creature, which again has to be like this huge feat he has to overcome.
Yeah, I think the framing of the shots for the fight were just beautiful too. Like especially when they square up essentially, and there's that long shot of them just holding the blades out. I think that's fantastic.
I love that shot. Oh God.
But yeah, I gotta agree with Brian. Like a knife fight isn't gonna go on 15 fucking minutes. Like a knife fight is gonna be dirty. It's gonna be brutal. You're gonna feel the hits, and then as soon as Paul gets stabbed, I think what's great about this scene is even though. I would say most people going into this know how the fight's going to end. I still had that worry, like, oh man, like, is Fade going to win? Like, is this the time that Fade actually wins the fight? Spoiler alert, he doesn't. Paul wins. But every blow, every hit, every time one of them is knocked on their back, like, you feel that, and like, you're super invested into this fight scene. And I think that just speaks to how powerful the scene is and how great of directing it was.
I would compare this, and I'm not trying to slander too much because I'm somewhat of a Star Wars prequel apologist.
Oh, same. So am I.
Strengths and weaknesses, shades of gray. But I do think that the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight in Revenge of the Sith, while it features some cool swordplay moments, it goes on forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you could have had the same impact if it had been much like the sword fight that we see in this movie. Just quick and dirty. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a volcano, an active volcano, and you're flipping from platform to platform, and there's all these like things flying by and jumping on one thing to get to the next. And it's like, it could just be a character and another character, like, having a up close sweaty knife fight rather than this like 20-minute long, like drawn out
short film in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, because by that point we know what the inevitable conclusion is. So to just see that inevitable conclusion be delayed longer by more lightsabers, as if we didn't see enough throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I know George Lucas probably thought like this is what the fans want to see, but it got that is an example of a filmmaker with no restraint whatsoever. I think Villeneuve is an incredibly wise filmmaker. I'm not shitting on George Lucas. I think I love the guy, but I think Villeneuve knows when to pull it back, and he knows these movies are very just like well judged, like in terms of the creative decisions, the pacing, everything. The fact that it was split into two movies to begin with. Obviously, that means double the profits or more for Warner Brothers, potentially, if both of them are successful. But it also means that you have more breathing room to tell the story, which is so, wide in scope. So, I mean, hats off to Villeneuve. These are my final thoughts, I guess. I mean,
might as well get into them. I was just going to say, before we do that, very fair to be able to compare this to Star Wars, because I see a lot of other people doing the same thing, and I myself felt that way during watching this movie. I haven't watched Andor. I haven't watched any of the other stuff recently, but my perspective on this was, if this kind of approach was taken to Star Wars, in terms of cinematically for whatever their outings are going to be in theaters in their next couple outings, it could potentially go a different route. And again, we know Star Wars is funner, more popcorn and all that nonsense, but there is a sense here, like, what would it be like if a visionary got behind it? We haven't seen that yet. So, final thoughts. We might as well go around the horn here. And while we do it, even though this is not a horror movie, I got to do Trash It or Treasure It. And because you are the youngest, B-Ratty, I'm throwing it to you first for Trash It or Treasure It. And, of course, your final thoughts on Dune Part 2.
Well, if you've been following along, I don't think it's very hard to see where this one's going to land for me.
No shit, but I still have to preface it that way.
It's definitely a treasure. I think that this is most likely our generation's epic. I think that the direction by Villeneuve is just almost flawless with this film. And I think he captures the religious undertones just perfectly. I think that the agony with which Paul has to carry out his journey and the complexity of that, and how he goes back and forth and then ends up with this resolute Paul Atreides that is now a man, is just stunning and remarkable. Like I've said before, casting is great, cinematography is great, the music is stunning, the fucking worms are giant and we actually see more of them. I don't have really anything bad to say about this except for the small nitpicky things I have, and it's really nice to have a movie like that, where I can walk away from it and say, wow, that was almost 3 hours of my life that was very well spent watching a movie. And so hats off to everybody
extremely
involved.
Extremely well put. That last line you said there about 3 hours of your life very well spent, I love that.
Thanks. I practiced in front of the mirror a couple times before this.
That should have been in a fucking trailer or a TV spot, not the shit that I said. Just saying.
Oh, you said fine stuff. Come on, man, you were great. But anyways,
just the way you worded it, it just sounds like very heartfelt, and I don't know, just true to the core, baby.
Well, yeah, and to that point, I mean, I've spent 6 hours of my life watching Dune Part 2, and I'd be happy to spend another 3, another 6.
I plan
maybe.
to.
I mean,
I plan to for sure.
Yeah. Again, he stuck the landing. He stuck the landing with Dune Part 2. So I'm going to treasure this film, and I'll treasure it for many years to come.
And yeah, lock and step. It's not hard. You heard it throughout the review. This is not only a treasure. This is, I wish there was something above that I could put it on, a pedestal of sorts, because this movie, it's going to be right up there for me. Like, I think I'm going to remember this when I'm on my deathbed. There's going to be some memories, and I think, Brian, it will be one of those times where, with this movie, we went and we saw this early screening of this thing, and it was just this fun moment, and super surprised at how great and just how insane the experience was watching it. And
and then the conversation afterwards where we dissected it,
yeah,
and we geeked out over it,
and you don't get these very often. I think it's special and it's rare, and I think if we lived in any other era, a lot of filmmakers talk about it all the time. Joe Dante is one of them. Scorsese's another one. If you grew up and you were able to see movies in theaters in the 70s, it was a special moment for them, and so on and so forth. So for us right now, doing what we do and being able to witness this movie, I just think it's culturally significant and really special, and that's why I will treasure it forever. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our Epic Film Guys review of Dune Part 2 for this special bonus episode. Thank you so much for listening. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been a listener for a long time, welcome back. We love you. Thanks for just sticking with us and going along with us on top of this giant fucking sand dick in the desert as it gets wet, opens that fucking orifice, and welcome in. Come on in, baby. But we're also all over social media at Epic Film Guys, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And if you really like what you're hearing and you want to give us some props, give us a shout out. Head over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a review, or Spotify's even easier. Just list them stars, and you're done. And big shout out to P. Diddy Combs. Thanks for that review on Apple Podcasts. Final Destination Retrospective Series, possibly in the works. So shout out for that review on Apple Podcasts. Always love seeing that shit popping in your way here. But I'm Justin.
I'm BluBrry.
And I'm LoySauce.
Thanks again for listening. But as always, we like to ask you to keep it creepy.